Obviously, very disappointing performance in the way that we played. We went in with the expectation to win, and we obviously did not accomplish that. Thought when you get in a situation like that against a very good team, credit Ohio State for the way that they played, but that we didn't play to the standard that we're capable of defensively. And part of having grit is when adversity comes and you play against a good football team, you have to decide that enough is enough. And when you walk out there on that field, you say that enough is enough, and I'm going to do my job, all right, and focus on my play so that I can go execute at a very high level. And that's not what we did enough in that game. Credit Ohio State. I'm not taking anything away from them because they're a very good football team. But if I'm a linebacker, enough is enough. I'm going to lock in. I'm going to do my job for that one play, and then I'm going to go play as hard as I can the very next play. If I'm a defensive tackle, enough is enough. I'm going to go lock in and do my job. If I'm a corner, I'm going to lock in and play my responsibility. Across the board, same deal to me as a coach, right? There were calls that I should have made and got in a lot faster than what I did. Think that each one of us, I told the players this morning, this is a program-defining opportunity. We had one to play Ohio State and beat them, all right, and we didn't get that done. But how we respond to this adversity when we know that we're capable of so much more, as an entire program, enough is enough, okay? Not saying that we're going to win every single game, not saying that we're going to do anything outside of what we're capable of doing, but when we decide to go do what we're capable of doing, we can accomplish a whole lot of things here. And that starts from everybody, from coach to myself, all right, to our players, to our fan base. It's an opportunity, all right? We've got to show up, all right? We've got to show up in pregame. We've got to bring energy in pregame to our team, all right? And that's not a challenge to anybody, right? But it's an opportunity for our entire program. It's an opportunity for our entire program, university, community, all right, Indiana alumni. Enough is enough. Let's go in there and let's go execute and let's go do our job. We got to do our job on the field, all right? But we got to give you guys something to play for, okay, and something to be proud of in the way that we go and compete every single day. The other day, a young man by the name of Leo came out, and he's got some challenges physically and things that he's going through, but he was so excited to go out and play for the Indiana Hoosiers, to go see them play and to come out to practice and throw the ball around and do all those things. That's what we have to play for. It can't just be ourselves. It can't just be for yourself individually. It's got to be not just for the team, but at some point, every great program has eventually said, enough is enough, all right, we're going to get it changed, and we're going to be the reason why. And I think every person that's involved with Indiana football has to decide, all right, and has to make that decision that we're going to say enough is enough, and let's go compete.
Tom and the players talked about flushing it, and Tom said he was pretty angry, on Saturday night. I mean, how hard has this been for you to flush?
Should have been angry. I think we all are. When you compete and you go so hard and you work under the leadership of Tom Allen, who puts so much into this program, and he cares so much about it, and he's hired people that care so much. And we didn't do everything perfect. We got things that we got to make sure that we get corrected and fixed as coaches too. But ultimately, that was not the product that we believe that we're capable of out there on game day. And so, yeah, there's parts of it that you flush. But I told our guys this morning, I said, look, it's September 16th, all right, and it was about 8:30 in the morning. Let this be a memory that when you walk in that locker room for your bowl game and you walk in all the things that you're going to accomplish with this young group of guys over the next 4 and 5 years and years to come, let this be a memory, all right, of when you said and you decided this was a program-changing opportunity. And that's how we have to see this, as an opportunity. It was disappointing, for sure, but we have to see it as an opportunity to get better.
Coach, I'm not trying to be sarcastic in any way, but after a game like that, everyone spends a lot of time evaluating for a couple of days where the players failed to do their things. But when you look at it yourself, from what your job is, what specifically are you disappointed with, and what your role in this was as well?
I think first thing, obviously, when they went some tempo, there's some times where I brought some pressures where there was too much movement, in terms of we didn't get lined up with the defensive line. That's always a little bit of a feel thing of, hey, guys, you guys got to get the call and you got to get lined up. You know what I mean? When we're going fast, you got to understand the tempo. It's always hardest on a defensive line, all right? But also I got to understand the communication between myself and them, making sure that we get those things communicated across the board. Thought I needed to do, there's some things that we can tweak to do a better job when teams are going tempo against us. And then again, just making sure that we always keep the main thing the main thing. I thought our run fits through spring ball, fall camp, into the first 2 games, we've done such a good job of lining up, knowing exactly where to be and execute. Not that it was perfect, but it was really good. And we didn't play anywhere close to that standard even from a week ago. You can say we're playing Ball State in Eastern Illinois, but knowing what to do doesn't matter who you play against. And that's what we didn't accomplish.
Coach, almost as a follow-up to that question, as the DC and as a staff, what is it that you have to do with the players to actually get their attention, to get them to do the very things that they're not doing right now?
Well, I think that's what I talked about of we have to see this as a program opportunity, because when you have a game like that and you have a situation like that where you all go in with the expectation of winning, but then adversity comes and adversity hits, and how you respond to that adversity is you lock in, you focus, and you do your job for the next play. And that's what we didn't have enough of. We've shown that we can do that. We've shown it against our offense in practice. We've shown it in the first 2 games. But this is now an opportunity where you go back, you show them the film, you show them, look what happens, all right, when you do your job, and look what happens when you don't do your job, okay? And regardless of who you play, you can get exposed. Obviously, Ohio State can expose you in a number of ways and a number of levels, okay? But when you play to the level that you're capable of and the standard that we've set here defensively, doesn't really matter who we play. But if you don't, it also doesn't matter who we play.
Coach, I know obviously there was no players in the game. It was tough after that. But one guy who seemed like for the whole game really brought it and kind of had that mindset that you're looking for was Kane Wommack at corner. I'm sure it wasn't perfect, but what kind of progress and improvement have you seen from him? And I mean, how good do you think he can be?
Kane Wommack is a fighter. And that's what we have to have is when you have guys that decide I'm going to play a certain way and I'm going to play to a certain standard and a certain level of attitude and passion and aggression that he played with. I thought that is what we need to continue to see, all right? And we have seen from our defense and we've shown, but when you get in those situations, in a big game situation and adversity hits, that's the mentality that I want to see. Kane Wommack didn't do everything perfect, but he's a fighter and we can go win with fighters.
How much of the problem Saturday was not being in the right place versus not making the play or making the tackle when you were in the right place?
Yeah, most of it was there were very few missed tackles inside the box. There were a lot that were out in space. Obviously, against a good team, those are the most challenging situations. But again, if I'm a safety, my mentality is I'm coming down and I'm going to get this guy on the ground regardless of what drill we work, regardless of whatever. It's a mentality, right, that you have to come in with. Obviously, we got to work our technique. We got to continue to improve in those things. Thought we took some steps back in the way that we did, the way that we tackled in open field. But I think more of it is focusing your eyes through the adversity. And I'm telling you, that to me is so much of what Tom is trying to instill in this football team and what grit looks like. Some of what grit looks like is just knowing in the face of adversity that you embrace the consistency of boredom, of doing your job and putting your eyes in the right place over and over and over again. And when we do that, we will be a successful defense.
You mentioned the opportunity that a game like Ohio State presents, and some of the players mentioned that, you know, they didn't have some of their best practices leading up to that game. I mean, is that something you saw that may have led to the performance? And if so, you know, how do you kind of change that to make sure an opportunity like that the week before the practice kind of, you know, you can take full advantage of that?
I think you always try to look back, you know, I mean, retrospectively, okay, where can we improve? Where can we do better? It's our job as coaches, and it's a credit to our players that they're doing the same thing in terms of looking at what can we do during the week to improve ourselves. And I'm telling you, you know, Tom said it before, we've said it, like embrace the boredom of consistency. And sometimes when you're out there and you're going against a scout team guy, but you know in a week that's going to be J.K. Dobbins, every little step, every little fit is critically important. And we've done a really good job. We've actually had some really good practices. We had some good practices last week. But just having that mentality of every time you step on that field, the mentality never changes. So that way when you get to the game field, right, it's exactly what you've done all week long in preparation.
Coach, looking forward, I know they didn't play last week, but on film, what have you seen from UConn offensively? Had 2 games, FCS, and then a Big Ten team. What kind of challenges will they present for you guys?
They're an improved offense. I think their offensive line does a solid job. They've got some good run games, some things that we even saw from Ohio State, which is great. It's a great challenge for us in the way that we're going to have to go fix some things and make sure that we stay on top of some things. Think their backs run hard. They've got a good solid receiving core. You know, they're not obviously what we always see in the top end of this level, but they made some phenomenal catches against Illinois. They go compete, and whereas a year ago I thought they really struggled in some ways offensively, I think they're competing at a very high level right now, and I think their quarterback, for a young kid, made some really nice throws against Illinois. I think they're a challenging team in that regard.
You've had a couple of turnovers in 3 games or takeaways, but they've come later in games. I mean, how important is the timing of those takeaways, and how do you get them earlier?
It changes games. It changes the outcome of football games when you can get takeaways, especially against good teams like Ohio State. Obviously, it provides an opportunity and momentum for your offense. Those things come in bunches. We have to be unwavering in our standard in the way we preach those things. Over the years, we've always seemed to be one of the top teams in the country that gets takeaways, but, you know, I can't sit here and say that it comes on this one or that one. You don't know when the opportunity comes, but when you play with a violent effort and an attacking style of defense, you create more takeaways, and that's certainly what we want to accomplish.